Hi everybody, this video will describe how to create health damage to a first-person character in Unreal. And then a second video will describe how to add health to the player. So this first video will describe the damage part, and then we'll come back and describe health part, and then get into displaying the damage or health on the UI. So, previous videos we created coins and collectibles and tracked those with UI elements, and we're going to build upon that. In my meshes folder, I'm going to right click and choose blueprint class. We're going to add an actor. Let's say BP damage spikes, something like that. I'm going to come in here, close out all my other ones because I don't need those this moment. And let's create some objects. So we're going to create a cube. And it's going to be really small, 0.1. There you go, 0.01. I just want this to be really thin. And maybe it's 1.5, 1.5, a little wider. I'm going to add some cones. So cone. And we'll do like 0.1, 0.1, 0.01. It's probably too small. But wrong one, 0.1. Can't see it, so let's keep increasing it up. Where is it at? Okay, we need to be much bigger. Let's say 10. No? Okay, let's say 20. 30. There you go, let's say 30. That's fine. 0.02, 0.02. Make it much thinner. Maybe not that much. 0.05, 0.05. There you go. That'll work. Alright, so we're going to move this down. And I'm just going to make a bunch of copies of this. So duplicate. So we'll put it on the outside. Duplicate. On the outside, we'll take these three, duplicate, put on the corner, and we'll try to match the position. So I'm just placing these in here. So let's see, x, negative 43, negative 43. I'm just matching positions here. Alright, let's duplicate again, and let's do positive 43. It'll be on the opposite side. Alright, whatever you want this to look like. We can add like a fire effects. Let's do a particle. Suggest that, hey, you probably shouldn't get on this object. In particles, I'm going to change this to fire. Maybe we'll reduce it down some. This doesn't need to be a child of anything. Here we go. So then maybe 0.3, 0.3, 0.3. Here we go. Don't jump on this object. This is fire. Alright, we can add some basic materials to everything. Like a dirt or something, ceramic tile, no, whatever we might want this to look like. Concrete grime, there you go, that looks pretty grimy and whatnot. Alright, let's go check our scale. Let's drag this into our world. Here we go. So what I want to happen is when I step over this, I want to deal damage to the player. Right. I don't really want to collide with any of these objects. So I'm going to change the collisions to no collision for this. Okay, maybe I'll add collision to the top one. Overlap all. That'll work. But I don't want to collide with those spikes. I just want to jump over it and it deal damage. Okay. All right. Let's select it and kind of move it over here out of the way, away from our cones that we had earlier. Alright, so whenever the player stands on that, I want to deal damage. I want to first interact with it. In the previous video, created this interface, so we're going to use that as well, and that interface is tied to event begin play of the player. That creates this interact player function, and we're going to reference that in our health or our damage spikes here. Alright, so in the event graph of our damage spikes, we're going to go to class settings, and interfaces, we're going to add that interface. I_interface is what we call it. Alright, and then on event begin play, we need to cast to the player. We're going to use this later, so cast to VP player. Pull that there. We're going to drag from the object of cast, get player character, and promote that to a variable. Right click on that as BP player, promote to variable, and we'll rename that player. Alright, so now underneath the interfaces, there's the interact player. I'm going to right click on that and choose implement event. I don't need these other ones right now, so I'm going to remove those out. And we'll compile and save. And this is going to be where we are going to add the damage. So right now we can say drag out event interact, and I can say print string, pull that up, and then that's going to say you took 25 damage. There you go. And we can go test this out. So it's not actually going to hurt the player, but what this will do is when I jump over it now, let's see, it did not work, so we'll come back and correct that. It should pull up a text that says you took 25 damage. Okay, so our issue was the collision box. Let's open this back up. Oops. My object was just too small. So what I need to do is go into my cube and just make it bigger so that there is something to collide with. 0.1. Okay, that might make my spikes too big. It looks kind of crazy looking, but we'll come to our cones and then we'll decrease that. Let's see, 5. That'll work. And let's actually move them down. Let's see, position, vertical, 10. I'm just decreasing it some so that I can see it here. $250. There you go. That'll work. All right. So now let's try. So we just increased the vertical height so that there is something to actually collide with. Now, if I go hit play, we'll roll over it. You took 25 damage. There you go. So every time I roll over that, it damages the player. You took 25 damage. All right. So that's a deterrent. Don't go jump on this. Otherwise, you take 25 damage. All right. So now we need to go create a custom variable on our player character in order to track that, store it as a variable, and then display that on the UI. Okay, so in our player character, we're going to create a new variable, and we're going to call this one, we need to have one called health. This is going to be an integer. And we need one, eventually, that's going to be max health. There you go. So how we're going to set this up is we're going to have a maximum health that the player has, and then we're going to start that at 100, and then as we roll over this damage spike object, then it's going to decrease the health by 25%. So we need a max health and a health value. So what is the health and then what's the max health? Okay, so underneath our collect coins, we're going to create a custom event. So I'm going to right click and choose custom event. And we're going to tie this one decrease health. Misspelled it, so we'll go back and make sure we don't misspell it. Decrease health. Okay. Alright, so let's just go ahead and compile and save to set those default values. The max health, we want the max health to be 100, so we can't get above health of 100. And then we're going to set and get health as we need to. So we're going to start with max health and then set and reduce that as we need to. We can actually go ahead up to event begin play and drag out from that, and we're going to choose set max health. We're going to set health. Set health. And then what are we going to set health to? We're going to set it to a get of max health. So set health to max health. That's going to start our health at 100. So we can kind of drag to comment that out and say set start health. There you go. Alright, so our start health will be 100. Alright, in our decrease health is where we're going to start reducing the health when the player collides with that damage spikes object. Alright, so we need to check a couple of things. We need to check to see if the health of the player is above 0, then we want to damage the player. But if the player's health is 0, then we can't damage the player more than 0, right? So then we could eventually do like a death action or interaction at that point. So, but if the player's health is 0, we don't remove more. We don't want to have negative 25. But if the player's health is more than 0, then we want to check to see if it's more than 25 and decrease the health, right? So we're going to drag out from decrease health. Actually, before that, we're going to drag in a get health. So we'll take our health value and choose get. And we're going to first check to see if health is greater than 0. So we're going to drag out from health and hit plus symbol, or sorry, greater than symbol. So integer greater than integer. If health is greater than 0, then we're going to have our first if statement. So we're going to drag out from decrease health, and we're going to choose branch, which is our if statement. And the condition for that first if statement is if the health is greater than 0. Alright, so then we want to say, well, if that's false, so let's drag out from false. If our health is not greater than 0, if it's 0, then we're going to choose, actually let's drag in a set health. So we're going to set our health to 0. So if our health is not greater than 0, as in a 0, then set our health to 0. Okay. We don't want to reduce more than 0, as in a negative value. But if our health is greater than 0, then we're going to, let's see, we'll copy that set health. We're going to set our health. Alright, so what we want to do here is in our blueprint for our damage spikes to be able to determine how much we are decreasing. So right now we don't have a way to determine how much to decrease the health. We're going to do that in our damage spikes. So we're going to create a new input. If I go back to decrease health event, and over in details panel I'm going to create new parameter, and we're going to call this let's see, let's say decrease health value, decrease health value, and that's going to be an integer. There you go. And what we need to do is connect this decrease health value to that set there. I'm just going to move some things down, and the lines, connect up, which is fine, but it doesn't visually look proper. So if I double click on the green line here for decrease health, I can actually create another kind of point and create one here. So that way I can see where this line actually connects to instead of going through the branch. So that's kind of a little quick tip there. You can double click and add a new point. I don't need one there, so we'll connect that one back up to that one. Okay. Alright, so if our health is greater than 0, then set our health, or reduce our health down by this decreased health value that we'll determine later. If our health is 0, then set our health to 0. Leave our health at 0. Okay, so what that actually will do is set our health to whatever our decreased value is, and that's not exactly what we want to do. So I'm going to move this one down a little bit more. Move this one over. I'm going to disconnect this, leave my points there that I created. I'm going to drag in a get health, and that's going to be the top. And what I want to say is when I collide, take my health value and reduce it by my decreased health value. So let's do health, drag out from that and choose minus. I'm going to do an int minus int. This over a little more. So I want to do health minus my decreased health value. And then that is going to be my new health value. There you go. So there's our bigger connection. I'm just going to move things over. Try to condense it as much as possible. And I can move this other one out, try to align everything, create a couple points. There you go. So there's our overall action. When this decreased health function is going to be added to the player damage spikes, or BP damage spikes, then it's going to see, well, is my health greater than 0? If so, then reduce my health by whatever I choose my decreased health value to be. If not, then set my health to 0. Let's compile, save. And we're going to go back to our BP damage spikes, go into our event graph, and instead of this print screen, we can actually go back to our player and print the screen here. So we can say, well, if our health has been reduced by 25%, we can say print string. We can actually do 2 here. First can say you took 25 damage. We can print another string. And then we can get our health. So we can say drag our health value into that print string. Move all this stuff out of the way so we can see it. There you go. So if we took damage, you took damage, 25 damage. And then we're going to print that value of your health. If not, we can do a print string here, print string. It says your health is at 0. You died. You also type that in there if you wanted to, but your health is at 0. Alright, so now in our damage spikes, we can remove this print string because we added that into our interact function. We already have our cast to BP player, so we're going to drag out, let's actually add a player first, add our get player, drag out from player, and we'll look for decrease health. It's a function we just created. Connect it to our interact, and our player's connected there. Alright, now we can go test this out. Compile and save. Alright, so we'll play. So now when I move over this, now it says my health is, you took 25 damage, but my health is still at 100. It's because I didn't determine what that decreased health value is. Okay, it's doing what it needs to do, it's just not reducing the health. Alright, so let's open up that blueprint again. And in that decreased health, there's the decreased health value. So we can say we'll reduce it by 25 points. Here you go, compile and save. And now let's go play. So now when I run over these spikes, let the cursor option or prompt go away. It says you took 25 damage, my health is at 75. I back off of it, come back onto it, you took 25 damage, my health is at 50. And I can keep doing this. You took 25 damage, my health is at 25. Do it again, you took damage, my health is at 25 or 0. Then last time, your health is at 0. Okay, so that's kind of debugging and creating the health action. Now what we can do is build our widget to display that health to the player. And we're just going to do just a simple value widget. So we're going to go into the UI tab. I already have a HUD and a couple other widgets. I'm going to right click and choose User Interface Widget Blueprint. We'll do W underscore damage health? Damage health, I think is what I'm going to call it. Damage health. Okay, actually, we're going to pause the video. We're going to come back and we'll do the health increase, and then we will come back and do the widgets for each one of these. All right, so we'll delete this one for right now, and we'll come back and do the UI in another video. But this video talked about how to track something that is going to damage the player and collect that as a health variable.